to the Building Your Brand podcast. And in this solo episode, I want to chat all about the power of saying no. Now, saying no is not something that I have historically been particularly good at. I have been a classic people pleaser in the past. And so I would always prioritize what other people wanted me to do rather than maybe what I wanted to do. And like a lot of the times, I did want to do those things too, and it was fine. But there would be so many times where there was something that I didn't really want to do, but I made myself do it for the benefit of that other person. And I am now a recovering people pleaser. So I still get sucked into it every now and then, but I do start to notice when I'm doing it much quicker. And I have started to feel really empowered by saying no. And I still find it stressful. I still worry about what the other person thinks about me. I still, care about how they feel. But I have got into the habit of saying no. And then the other thing that I'm working on is not feeling like I have to over explain my no when I've said no to something. And I think that is quite hard sometimes for people to hear or understand, or, when it's not explained for them to accept. And yeah, I mean, it can be hard for me knowing that I haven't over explained myself to someone. But I think the reason that I've started to feel so empowered by saying no is that I have said no to some big opportunities in the last few years because I knew that they weren't right for me. And I think people were often surprised by those no's. And it made me realize that actually it made me feel really confident and in control, knowing that I had said those no's and I had turned down those opportunities that weren't right for me. So there were things like a potential job, being on someone's podcast that didn't feel very aligned, brand partnerships. And I've talked about some of these things before. And I think what I'm realizing is there's kind of this psychology around it all. And I think one of the, not mistakes that I've made in the past, actually, yeah, maybe a mistake. One of the things that I've done in the past is just made myself too available to people. I am always the person who replies to the message really quickly. Part of the reason for that is that if I don't reply, you'll probably never get a reply. But that means that people think that I'm always going to be available to respond, to help them with their issue, to send them that file, to listen to their crisis. And actually, something that I have realized is that when you are too available to people, then that dynamic kind of gets abused and you kind of get a bit taken advantage of. And I've seen this in like a personal setting and a work setting as well. And it's something that I'm trying to address. And I think the more and more I've said no to things, the more confidence I've had to not be as available. And I think what's interesting is that I mentioned how my confidence has increased because of it, but I also think it changes people's perception of me. And I actually think people have a better perception of me now that I'm saying no to things. I think when you say no to something that people assume you're gonna say yes to, there's like a level of respect there that you know your own mind, that you are confident to do something a bit different, not just follow, what is expected, what everybody else is doing. And I think there's also a confidence when you don't feel the need to over explain yourself. So you've probably seen a meme or heard people say like no is a full sentence. And yeah, no is a full sentence. That you don't have to over explain it. You don't even have to give a reason when you're saying no. And I think it's like that classic thing of when you are less available and when you are turning things down, it almost makes you more desirable. Now, obviously, I'm talking about this in a work context, but, I do think this often happens in a relationship context as well. Maybe not like in a friend context, but like in a romantic relationship context. When like someone's like too keen, too desperate, too full on is like a bit of a turn off. And I think it is the same in a work setting. Like, don't get me wrong, I think it is really good to be keen and proactive. And that I'm all about pitching myself and putting myself out there and asking for what I want. But I think sometimes when you are too available, too keen, too ready to take up every opportunity, like it signals something. There's a slight air of desperation about it. In the early days, maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. But I think now, as I'm like more established in my career, I know the sort of clients I want to work with, I have quite a lot of sort of lines, I guess like lines of integrity that I'm not willing to cross, my values, where I've kind of set those and what I'm comfortable with. And so anything outside of that, I'm just like, no, that is not for me. And often there are other people who are just taking every opportunity coming at them. And that often results in them getting burnt out, feeling overwhelmed. There's that sort of lack mentality, that fear that something else good isn't going to come along. I guess it's that classic thing of like, the more you do something, the more proof you have that that isn't going to be the case. And so the more I say no to things, the more proof I have that opportunities are still going to come my way, that I am still going to get clients, that I am still going to get speaking gigs. Things are still going to come my way, even if I say no to one thing. So I guess I kind of wanted to share this partly because it had come up for me a bit recently. There was something that I said no to, and I had to sort of resist all of the urges to over explain everything and try and package it up with a neat little bow so it felt less like a no, and all of this kind of thing. And I worked through that with help from some friends as well. Shout out Lois and Hannah. And I sent my no clearly and without explanation, and I felt really good about that. And so I guess I wanted to share it to encourage you that sometimes no is the most powerful thing you can do in a situation. And it will often feel scary, and it will sometimes feel hard, but you will know if you've listened to this podcast for a while that I am a big believer in embracing and working through the discomfort, knowing that there are good things on the other side. And so I know that this is like a process and a journey that I need to go through of getting more confident in my no. And as I do, like with every no, I feel more and more, I want to say powerful. Powerful sounds like I think I'm some sort of superhero, but I feel that power, and it gives me strength and it gives me courage, and it gets me really excited for how I want to show up in my business and in what I do. Now, I will say I do need to work on it more. I think one of the things that I have really struggled with is that I do enjoy lots of different things, and I enjoy doing lots of different things. And so when there's lots of opportunities coming my way, and I think, each one is something that I actually would love to do, then obviously I say yes to them all, and then I start to feel overwhelmed and I start to feel a bit burnt out. So, I've got much better at saying no to the opportunities that I know I don't want. So, working on that people pleaser aspect. But now I need to get good at saying no to opportunities that I kind of do want and I think would be really good for me, but I want to protect my peace and not be overwhelmed, not be burnt out. And so I think that is the next step for me. And I think this one's going to be a bit harder because obviously saying no to something that actually would be a great opportunity and you would enjoy, that's not always the easiest. So maybe I'll do an update in 6 months and let you know how saying no to those things are going. I'm getting there. I'm always a work in progress, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share that work in progress with you all through these solo episodes. So I would love to hear your experience of saying no. Is it something that you find easy? Is it something you've had to work on? Please come and let me know so that I don't feel like I'm talking into the void. And I would love to also hear what you think of the solo episodes. I've had a few encouraging bits of feedback from people saying they're enjoying them, but do you think I should keep going with the solo episodes and have the interviews and solo episodes coming out every week, or should I sort of scale it back and only do them every now and then? I would love to hear your opinion. Come find me on Instagram where I'm at Liz M. Mosley or at Building Your Brand Podcast and let me know your thoughts.